our readers at once, and they'll start reading, they'll alternate, and we'll go back and forth. So I'll just quickly introduce them. Andrew John lives and works in London. His poetry has appeared in Summerstock, in Catechism, Poems for Pussy Riot, VLAK, which is published by Literaria Fragancia, and Writer's Forearm, Painted Spoken, which is from hydrohotel.net, and also great works, Freakland from Nine Earth, also Veer publications, Veer Away, Veer Off, and Veer About, the journals, and from Birkbeck, the Poetry and Revolution International Conference Anthology, Herbarium from Urban Physic Garden, and I suppose that's some step. And he has a book that came out in 2009 called Now Than It Used to Be, but in the past. That's the title of the book. And I certainly hope that he says something about the way he composes, and also especially about those upside down lines that you have, which are really interesting. And this is from Veer Books. Philip Terry is from University of Essex. He's the head of the Department of Literature, Film and Theatre Studies. He's the director of the Center for Creative Writing. And he has had an education in English and comparative literature areas. His research interests are Ulipo, experimental translation, and all sorts of hybrid forms of writing, and critical theory. He has translated Raymond Queneau's Elementary Morality, and recently Georges Peret's I Remember. And he has published several poetry collections. I have 3 of his books here, which I can show some people here, I can share with them. One is on, published by Carcanet, it is on Shakespeare's sonnets. It's a rewriting, creative rewriting of Shakespeare's sonnets. The most recent one is from Carcanet again, and it is a rewriting, a creative rewriting of Dante's Inferno. And he has written a novel called Tapestry. In 2013, it was shortlisted for the Goldsmiths Prize, given by Goldsmiths College and the New Statesman, University of London. And this award is interesting because it is given for fiction that opens up new possibilities for the novel form. And he comes up with this brand new Old or Middle English spelling and pronunciation. We come up with the language that is the knitters or the weavers of the biotapestry. I'm sure you can talk about something. Okay, so I give you the 2 writers, Anthony John first, and then Philip Terry.
Thanks very much, and thanks for the invite to come here. I'm very excited to be here in a beautiful city and talking about and reading poetry. It's great. Just to say how we're going to do it, I'm going to read some poems, then Philip's going to read some, and I'll read a second lot of poems, and then Philip will start with his work. Just a note to say how I construct the poems. I cut lines from newspapers and arrange them basically in 2 columns, and all the poems are of this form. And I keep the line length of the newspaper column, so the line length of the newspaper column corresponds to the line length of P in the poems. And the upside down lines, some of the lines are upside down, and all I do is I read the words in reverse order in those lines, which you'll probably hear. So in this part, I'd like to read 8 poems. Okay, 1. Who rejects the loving concern of Susan, brutal, amoral world? What I believe, in faith, hope and love, there is rot, but there's good wood. You have tears, prepare to shed them for plump, self-admiring, nude, wise guys. You have tears, prepare to shed them for trailing black rags, sails low above, who rejects the loving concern of Susan. And bigwigs are coming down for the trailing black rags, sails low above, brutal, amoral world. In the end, came then almost unbidden. It was in the end, one has to ask, who came then almost unbidden? It was plump, self-admiring, nude, wise guys. And bigwigs are coming down for the fastenings, Velcro and textiles. What I believe, in faith, hope and love, textiles and Velcro fastenings. Desolate place, perhaps Central Asia, last members of the regiment. But one sergeant stood out from the last members of the regiment, bitter in his barrels and in his heart, finds himself the victim of departmental regulations. We know that what we but one sergeant stood out from the regulations. We know that what we brightens which lights are in now dark. It may be asked, why are the dark? Now in a light which brightens, bitter in his barrels and in his heart. In the end, one has to ask who meant about what it is. The necessity, it may be asked, why are the desolate place, perhaps Central Asia, meant about what it is? The necessity, departmental of victim, that himself finds there is rot, but there's good wood. 2. Hegel, who made conspicuous refer, Hegel attempted to reframe the trade, Hegel, who made conspicuous refer, Hegel attempted to reframe the trade. Embarrassing though, has to be Hegel, with his eyes shut, grey hair flopping, horribly needy face lights up with joy. Corncrake, a tardy cockerel's clarion cry. Covenant between nations, gar. Covenant between nations, gar. It is right that they consider that, but Corncrake, a tardy cockerel's clarion cry, chose to wear a black bushy beard for the reed grass on the far side. It is good to walk among and between the reed grass on the far side. Going on, they would say, what the F are among the acres of rustling grass. Going on, they would say, what the F are with his eyes shut, grey hair flopping among the acres of rustling grass. Embarrassing though, has to be Hegel. It is right that they consider that, but it is good to walk among and between leaves on their lawn, so you don't quite take flight. What might have chose to wear a bushy black beard, for the horribly needy face lights up with joy. My eyes filled with tears, and I didn't quite take flight. What might have leaves on their lawn, so you don't. My eyes filled with tears, and I didn't. The mask-like face turns on hurriedly, wavelets on sand accompanies the moon. The inky black surface of the stream, and wavelets on sand accompanies the moon. The mask-like face turns on hurriedly, grey of the octagonal concrete room, the inky black surface of the stream, and grey of the octagonal concrete room. 3. Some totters through the Glasgow shopping, some on their way to the Asda in Govan. Some totters through the Glasgow shopping, some on their way to the Asda in Govan. There's an interesting story here. In discourse I will enchant thine ear. And no, neither here nor there. Leave it at that, we also know that this bewilderment fall like rain on the cement and concrete structure, of the place without the need for cement. A bewilderment fall like rain on the cement and concrete structure of the place without the need for cement. A skin of a reptile, a curled up woodlouse, structure with some unknown purpose. No, neither here nor there, discourse I will enchant thine ear. I leave it at that. We also know that there's an interesting story here. In President Gerald Ford, she's still alive. The ferry dash put aside for a strange, pale-coloured park dog, Home Secretary David Maxwell Fyfe. The ferry dash put aside for President Gerald Ford, she's still alive. Home Secretary David Maxwell Fyfe was using these words: "We are living. Go to Bromley Technical College, where to try and persuade General Van Choltitz. Go to Bromley Technical College, where structure with some unknown purpose, skin of a reptile, a curled up woodlouse, was using those words. We are living to try and persuade General Van Choltitz, a strange pale-coloured beast, park dog, Dar, to which the court notes he was. Dar became completely unresponsive. Dar became completely unresponsive. Dar, to which the court notes he was. 4. While gathering fruit the other evening, a wise lockkeeper elected to go with talking of such things, partly because Lapwing passes overhead, and the quiet, unfolded, flat sheets of blotting paper fields filled with a riot of buttercups, and said, "You must realise that your lapwing passes overhead, and the quiet meadows filled with a riot of buttercups begins to sing, and with the bright out," and said, "You must realise that your begins to sing aloud, and with the bright out talking of such things," partly because unfolded flat sheet of blotting paper a wise lockkeeper elected to go with while gathering fruit the other evening. One senior non-commissioned officer depicted a maze-like endless space and forested valleys, forgetting what moments of suspect intonation showed. An impetuous young commander with moments of suspect intonation showed the low rolling hills and valleys with a feeling of longing. Another sergeant major said that landscapes merged, one describing the one senior non-commissioned officer in the distance. Another sergeant major said that a feeling of longing depicted a maze-like endless space in the distance. Landscapes merged, one describing the rich yellowish bands of green, echoing and forested valleys, forgetting what pixelated endless landscapes defined. An impetuous young commander with pixelated endless landscapes defined the low rolling hills and valleys with rich yellowish bands of green echoing. 5. Once installed, Juan's electrical system, the only thing that really remains to say, he did an outstanding job. Precision was the thing with Pat, offers his own take. The big faces, the wall, the largely untouched decay point, I thought, no, I have to do that. Inside, the rooms were huge and white, which Juan's infant daughter plays in. With pleasure is his silvery voice, his indignation. What we shall all recall, the wall, the largely untouched, decayelessly breezy, and the impenetrably dark precision was the thing with Pat. Offers his own take. The big faces, the telling of it is never done. So what is to be done? While there, the only thing that really remained, it's a day with no soft edges. The sum to say, he did an outstanding job. Similar, and understandably, Luciano once installed Juan's electrical system. In Luciano's initial resistance to the point, I thought, no, I have to do that. We all know enough that his indignation, what we shall all recall, inside the rooms are huge and white, which Juan's infant daughter plays in. In Luciano's initial resistance to the similar and understandably Luciano-lessly breezy and the impenetrably dark with pleasure is his silvery voice, is so what is to be done? While there we know enough that, while it's a day with no soft edges, the sum therein, like the heart of a mysterious, unsought and ambiguous redemption. Therein, like the heart of a mysterious, unsought and ambiguous redemption, the telling of it is never done. 6. Over to the west, the complicated speaking from Ohio State Penitentiary said, "You have decided not to forego on Ohio State Penitentiary's death row, on Ohio State Penitentiary's death row, last thing that got them stokadissimo. Game, this is a game that we're in. If now game, at its game, at its game. Over to the west, the complicated game, it's a game now. But it's not actually a game, is it? It's loyal. Well, when I say loyal, this is a game that we're in. If loyal, well, when I say loyal, this is the last thing that got them stokadissimo. Speaking from Ohio State Penitentiary Maximum Security Facility, in materials such as cement, metal, glass, maximum security facility, in them, bright sunlit patches blazed. Inaccessible Japanese island. He, the emperor, called him into his closet, said, "You've decided not to forego fully winged birds of the area. Seagulls, bird its name remain unseen. They are the unremitting wind. I rode them all." The pilot said, "You guys have got to know that fully winged birds of the area, seagulls, the unremitting wind, I rode them all in a big machine." He objected, "Bring bird its name remain unseen. They are materials such as cement, metal, glass. It is game and actually not its butt." The emperor called him into his closet. "In a big machine," he objected, "bring inaccessible Japanese island." He, the pilot, said, "You guys have got to know them bright sunlit patches blazed." 7. To the superbly lucid, diamond-hard assassination of President Ceausescu, wet, or the moment of real fear in the officers. A major who describes himself extinguished fills me with dread. You tangle the clanging bells, fragmented teeth, put on the plimsoll, put the sock my teeth, take off the plimsoll, hold it in me, take off the dirty wet sock, hold it in of the thing. Zombie me is the same tangle of clanging bells, fragmented officers. A major who describes himself schmaltz and acid percussion rasps that it's all gone and they are on the helicopters, could not be laid fully that one soldier, a corporal, said, "You extinguished fills me with dread. You, my teeth, take off the plimsoll, hold it in me, take off the dirty wet sock, hold it in committee." To the superbly lucid, diamond-hard morning, soon the sodden land is sadness, and loss washes around the pennilessness, all my calamities. They say that zombified me must be the assassination of President Ceausescu committee. Pennilessness, all my calamities. They say that zombified me must be the sock that puts plimsoll, the on puts teeth. Scarlett Johansson enters our story. As one soldier, a corporal, said, "You at fully laid be not good helicopters, the on are they and gone, all hits but rafts, percussion, acid and schmaltz, the in fear real of moment be or wet." Scarlett Johansson enters our story. As sadness and loss washes around the morning, soon the sodden land is off the thing, zombie me is the same. 8. Ceramic flop and bulge like rope, or a doll who develops a soul and falls for a grey Russian sky and a backdrop driller who let the loose pipe down. Water and soil flash off into the lake of regulations. My guide described the busy sea of regulations. A grey Russian sky and a backdrop doll who develops a soul and falls for a ceramic flock and bulge-like rope, or a driller who let the loose pipe down. My guide to describe the busy sea on behalf of the Congolese government. Water and soil flash off into the lake on behalf of the Congolese government. That's the easiest way of doing it. The evidence disappear by eating it. That's the easiest way of doing it. The evidence disappear by eating it. At the time, General Dan McNeill told Stanley McChrystal the basic idea was Brigadier General James Cowan began, "Rain to me is beautiful. All my youth knowing is to embark upon a flight." The US Army's 82nd Airborne Division, Colonel told him, their inexpressive laughter. Standing Lieutenant Colonel Michael Manning, "Rain to me is beautiful. All my youth at the time, General Dan McNeill told this position. The statistics are crystal, Stanley McChrystal. The basic idea was this position. The statistics are crystal," their inexpressive laughter. Standing Colonel told him Brigadier General James Cowan began, "Knowing is to embark upon a flight." The US Army's 82nd Airborne Division, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Manning.